When are mortgage rates going to go down? As a real estate agent, that's a question I get all the time from both buyers and sellers. That's a good question. Mortgage rates affect a lot of things in the housing market. They affect buyer affordability. Lower rates mean buyers can afford more home. And they affect homeowners too, because homeowners sometimes like to refinance, change their payment, or get money to do projects to improve their home. And that affects demand. Lower rates mean more people can afford a home. Before we talk about when mortgage rates might go down, let's talk about the current situation, where we are now. It's August 2023 and mortgage rates are about 7% for a loan where you're putting a 10 or 20% down payment. And really, for most of 2023, mortgage rates have been pretty stable in the 6% range. Of course, the Fed really lowered the rates during the pandemic, which juiced the housing market, and people have gotten accustomed to really low interest rates. I had a buyer ask me a while back, when are rates gonna go back to normal, like 3%? I said, they aren't. At least not anytime soon. Those are really unicorn years in the housing market and in mortgages. When we look back for the last 30 years, the average interest rate was 5.64%. When you think about it, interest rates are influenced by multiple factors. You've got the economy, inflation, the central bank, and really supply and demand too. There is supply and demand for money also that's gonna affect rates. Interest rates are highly correlated to the 10-year treasury. So as long as the Fed keeps raising interest rates, we're probably gonna see mortgage rates edge up slightly too. Industry experts seem to think that rates are probably gonna go down in the third or fourth quarter of 2023. But recently, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said we're not in for any Fed cuts for probably a couple years. So we may be in for more of the same. Now, there's an entire industry built on making financial predictions. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. I think the real question we're all after is, when do rates get back in the fives? That's probably when we see the housing market really get juiced by low rates. If you ask me, I think it's gonna be 2024 before we even have an answer to that question. The more important question here is not really about interest rates. Those are fluctuating all the time. The real question is, when are home prices gonna go down? The reality is, as a buyer, you can only lock in your price one time, when you buy. Now, I'm here in the North Texas area, which is really the DFW metro, and we've had a healthy real estate market. Home prices have been going up for many, many years. Now, just looking at 2023, really, every month in my local market, I have seen prices go up. This seems like an impossible trend to continue. I think everybody wants to know, when are prices gonna go down? Well, they might never. At least the trend is up. The long-term trend is up. I do think it's important to keep in mind that the real estate market historically, pre-pandemic, has had quite a bit of seasonality. So we saw higher prices in the spring and summer, and maybe a little lower prices in the fall. This is not to say that home values are less, it's just the mix of home selling does change with the season and the median price rises and falls. The thing that people forget when it comes to real estate prices, just like anything else, is that they're a function of supply and demand. Now, here in North Texas, we have really high demand. We have migration to Texas that's stacked on top of our already pretty high population growth. Now, mortgage rates will affect demand. Simply put, lower rates mean more affordability, more people in the marketplace. The inverse is true. With higher rates, it will reduce demand. But even at today's rates, we have pretty strong demand. What we have is a supply problem. At the end of the day, real estate is scarce. It's like Mark Twain said, buy land, they're not making it anymore. And when we look at big cities like here in the DFW area, we got Dallas, Plano, both pretty good sized cities, they're out of space. There's really not room to create more inventory. And you'll see in older neighborhoods, people want to be in the neighborhood, so they'll buy an old house, tear it down, and build a new one. Now, cities are realizing this problem and they're pushing for more multifamily. Simply put, they're asking, how can we squeeze more people into the same amount of space? We also have macro factors that are really going to continue to be part of the supply problem. The first is the lock-in effect. A lot of homeowners have a really low interest rate. They're not moving out into a higher rate and a higher payment unless they have a really good reason to do so. They're more likely to stay in place with their low mortgage payment and improve their current home. We also have new construction. Now, theoretically, new construction should be a bright spot for inventory, but it's really, really expensive to build homes right now. So they're not building homes below the median price point, they're building it above, which just continues to push the price point up. The US housing market has been underbuilt for decades, and so it's not gonna be easy to catch up and solve that supply problem with building anytime soon. And the last factor I would say to consider is baby boomers. Yeah, it's convenient to blame problems on baby boomers, but when it comes to housing, they represent a huge portion of homeowners. And unlike their parents, they're not moving out. They're aging in place. So in past generations, you'd see those homes come on the market. Baby boomers are probably gonna age in place a lot longer, and their homes are not gonna come on the market to solve the inventory problem. So here we are, back to that basic economic principle of supply and demand. And since prices are driven by supply and demand, and supply is scarce or limited, we're probably gonna see prices continue to trend up. Now, sure, we may see seasonal changes in activity that the median price will bump up and down. the long-term trend will probably remain up for home prices. And mortgage rates, I think we're probably gonna see them stay pretty steady and eventually trend down. But when they do, that demand's gonna bump up, and higher demand probably means higher prices. As for the rates, they'll keep fluctuating. That's what rates do. If you wanna learn more about the real estate market, make sure to hit that red subscribe button. We'll see you all in the next video.